Welcome to another episode of Mr. Therapist and the Counselor Podcast. We are your guide to personal recovery, and we are the best mental health and recovery podcast out there. Come here for entertainment and some value. Jesse O.
You don't say demystifying anymore.
We demystify therapy. I know. I'm just trying to get to the point,
Okay.
This is what we talk. This is who we are.
This week on the podcast, we talk about the concept of relapse, what it means to relapse, what does it mean to look like in relapse mode when it comes to anything that you've been working on, but you're falling back into whatever behavior that is.
Make sure you share the show. Here we go. We did it.
We're rolling.
We said, here we go. We did it.
We did it. I know. It's like we did it like all over again or something like that. So here we go on this week of the episode of our friendly banter. Gosh, man.
Man, what is going on?
I don't know. Just for the viewers out there, we just had to re-record.
Oh, my gosh. It was kind of...
The microphones were not on.
So we were on fire. And
I
then...
thought it was picking up steam, too. And then all of a sudden, I heard the noise of the computer. And I was like, I saw your face. And I was like, what happened, dude?
So Jesse always gets frustrated or I don't know if it's frustrated, but I always make this exaggerated dramatic face.
You make jokes about hey, I just erased the show. You've gotten up and said I've almost erased the show.
It's not funny, dude.
It's not funny, dude. It's hard to do it. We want to record one time.
So whenever it does happen, sometimes you doubt me. You're like,
yes.
Are you just pulling my leg again?
Like right now, where you're like, hey, the mics weren't on.
You're like, yeah, right.
Dude, see, this stuff really happens. And then, the show will end and be like, dude, we didn't record again. And I'm like, it's too, you're crying wolf over here. So,
oh, God.
I want to say to start off, before we go right into the episode, I wanted a shout out to Grill 'Em All, 11 years open, a burger place in Alhambra. It's an independently owned restaurant. They were a food truck. I think they won a reality show which was based on food trucks on Food Network. They turned that into their own place, and they killed it for 11 years. Just an awesome place that I'd love to eat. I took tons of friends and family. I took you, Manny, to go to that place, and they closed down in January. So
I'll respect the one knock I have from that place, though.
Wait, they just closed. What are you gonna knock it? A dead man down, and you're like,
they haven't closed yet, right?
Yes. By the time this airs, they're done.
Oh, damn.
Well, I'm happy they closed, man. He says, continue.
The one knock, I just felt like they had too many options, right? It was too many burgers.
Okay, so anyways, I just want to say I'm gonna miss that place, and I heard they're reopening a different restaurant in Long Beach later this year. I will most definitely be a supporter. But what did you say whenever I talked about the burger place? You said, all good things must come to an end.
All good things must come to an end,
yeah. And boy, were you right. So, because I'm fucking done doing this show. One thing I want to talk shit about, I'll be going through a divorce, and you'll be like, the one thing that I'm really happy about your misery right now is... you made a bad decision having kids with that woman, so.
No, I love your wife.
There we go.
Yeah,
okay.
I love your family.
Oscar season's coming up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you're not big on going to see these Oscar movies, right?
No, unless Will Smith and Chris Rock will be there, then.
I don't think that's going to happen again.
No?
I think that they've tried to steer clear. Will Smith's banned from going to the Oscars, right?
For how long, though?
I don't really.
The guy's a stud.
I don't know if that's even true.
Has he been making movies, though, or no?
Yeah. So okay, you were watching The Pursuit of Happiness, right?
Oh, dude.
You loved that movie.
I love that movie. Yeah, that movie made me cry.
That was an Oscar movie.
It was?
I think he was up for best actor.
A lot of memes with that movie.
Yeah. So
I always appreciate how Will Smith can go from looking very ugly to looking very handsome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's times where he just looks really beat. The Pursuit of Happiness, there's a meme that shows up that he doesn't look very good, dude.
Yeah. Will Smith has a really solid cry. He just all of a sudden, I feel like the tear starts, you see it right by his eyeball, and all of a sudden it's down to his chin. It's a power cry right there. So, but Oscar season's out there, so I guess what's the last movie you went and saw?
Super Mario Brothers.
You went and saw it in the theaters?
No. The last movie I saw in theaters, I think it was with you. What did we go watch? It was produced by the guy that produces Get Out.
No.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
what?
Yeah,
Old. We went and saw Old.
No,
right?
no, it wasn't Old. It was the Alien movie, where it's like an old like a Western type of theme, and there's you don't remember? There's an alien and like what is it called? Yeah, what is it called?
Shit, this is bad.
Oh no, it's something like that though. It's like oh no or something like that. It's called like Nope. Nope. That's what it's called. It's called Nope.
Dude, good job, bro. You rallied on that one.
Yeah. So it's called Nope. That's the last one I saw.
Okay,
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, talking about I was talking about like, I'll tell you shows to watch. What's the last show I told you to watch?
Yeah, you are my showman, dude. You told me to watch The Bear.
Yeah, that's my cousin.
Your cousin, right?
I am Richie, right? Yeah. I love Richie the character because I relate with him a lot.
Such a good show. I love the part where the guy's like chopping really fast, like, and then they go catch him. He's smoking crack outside.
Oh, that's like in the last episode of season 2. That's what you referenced?
I just thought it was like I just finished watching it.
Okay, I guess that was the last episode, right?
We're talking about Relapse today. Like it's
Yeah, The Bear that won some awards. I think like at the Golden Globes for like best TV show.
Yeah, I'm getting Abby to watch True Detective.
Oh, like the new one?
Yeah, did that
with
win any
Jodie
awards?
Foster?
That must have. No, the
first
season
run.
1. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was up for some stuff with McConaughey and
that one's
Woody
good.
Harrelson. Yeah, that's a really really good one.
Yeah.
So,
what movies would you recommend though? What the Oscars throwing up there?
I don't know. I mean, I went and saw Iron Claw in December. Okay. I was able to sneak out and go see that. My mom was in town. I was like, I really want to see this
Iron
movie.
Claw? Is that like the fucking
machine
that picks out the toys?
No, like the claw hold. You ever heard of that?
No, dude.
You ever put that on your kids?
Like the sock, Mankind?
No, like the claw. Like I guess you shouldn't put the claw on your kids, but like that's something you would do in the 80s.
How do you do it?
It's the claw, dude.
You just put it on
put it in your forehead and you squeeze.
Oh, damn.
But the movie was based on the Von Erich family. The brothers, there was only one brother that lived out of the entire family. They were a professional wrestling family, but very tragic. Like 2 of the brothers committed suicide. Actually, 3 of the brothers committed suicide. I take that back. It's just a very tragic family. The only brother that's still living today, Kevin Von Erich, but
they're famous wrestlers.
Famous wrestlers, and there was a lot of pressure from like their father to be like something. But the father is like the villain in the movie. Okay. But it's once again, it's a Hollywood movie. It's based on a true story, but They Hollywood.
Was it WWE or
no? It was just like a Texas wrestling profession back in the day. So, but like it's really worth watching. Zac Efron's all jacked in it, but it was a really good movie. So,
yeah. Do you like Zac Efron as an actor?
Yeah, I think he's pretty good. Yeah. So I'd have him on the show.
Yeah.
So
okay, cool. So that's happening. You're watching it. You're catching it.
What, Zac Efron? Yeah, I don't know.
You catching Zac Efron?
I'll catch that guy. Anyways, I caught myself like checking him out a couple of times in that movie. That guy's yoked in that film.
Yeah,
how did he get that big?
I'll tell you how.
How did he get so big?
I'll tell you how. It's a secret.
75 hard?
No, I wish. Yeah. So you have to have this specific diet, and
holy shit! All right, here.
Hold on. Let me tell you this. Hold on a second. Like, okay. I can actually hook you up with some like badass protein. You want to get like Zac Efron.
So you just got to drink protein?
No, yeah. I got my uncle, right? He has this taco truck, right? And my uncle will cook you these high protein tacos. You can't get them anywhere in the market. You down?
What kind of meats are in it?
Dude.
What kind of meats, dude?
Cow brain.
I'm out, dude.
Dude, come on, dude. No, don't knock it before you try it. It's actually really good. I'm
knocking it. I'm not going to try it.
You want to get like Zac Efron, or you want to get like Zalakanaficus? What's that guy's name? Zalakanaficus?
Zach Galifianakis?
Yeah. Who do you want to look like, dude? Come on.
I look like the guy from The Hangover. That's fine. I look like Ben Stiller, and I'm okay with that.
Dude, look, time is running out, dude. So
speaking of time, let's go right into the time session. Oh my god!
See what happens when we do a rerun?
when we repeat everything. This week on Mr. Therapist and the Counselor Podcast Time Sessions. The clock has started for reals this time, right? So we're going to talk about the concept of relapse. When you hear the word relapse, I think most people refer to a relapse on drugs, relapse on alcohol, but it could be a relapse on. I saw you looking at the microphones.
It's good. We're good.
Okay, we're good. Why you're fucking with me right now? We're on the
Don't worry about it.
clock.
We got this.
So when you hear relapse, though, you do hear like I relapse on drugs, I relapse on alcohol. Maybe it's because we've worked in the field for
associated
so long.
with recovery.
We do,
yeah.
right? So, but relapses can be all kinds of things,
Yeah.
right? So, could be like I had a
Overthinking.
resolution, but I relapsed on my. Maybe you wouldn't use that word, but like.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you use it, but you can. I mean, the idea is the same, right?
Right.
Like you're kind of like you're taking steps back, right? So you could have like work on your money management and your budgeting and saving,
Right.
and then you have this relapse weekend where you just start spending too much, right?
money,
Or overeating, and you're trying to work on that, and so it can be used in all sorts across the board.
And I think before we actually like do something like with the real relapse happens for somebody like say picks up a drink, they start to have a mental relapse. They start thinking about like, that would sound good to have a drink. So the thoughts are already going, the emotions, the emotional relapse as well. So before the actual event happens, I think a relapse, it's something that starts to build and build
and that can look different. I mean, it doesn't just
Yes.
have to be like, oh, I want to drink, but it could just be negative about like treatment, about life, or just kind of saying like, fuck this. Why do I have to keep doing this? Like, I don't want to keep going to meetings. I don't want to keep, like I can't have fun. I can't. So starting to like almost build this resentment about life can even lead to relapse.
Yeah, I've told a lot of clients that like the relapse is not the initial like drink or using a substance or negative behavior. Well, it is actually the negative behavior. It's the stuff that starts to happen prior to that, where it's like this is where this is relapse mode. Something I mentioned at the beginning. Relapse mode is already starting to like plan out like unhealthy behaviors or not seeking help for those unhealthy behaviors, and then it slowly it could slowly start to spiral and lead to like the big thing, the use of whatever that's very unhealthy. In this reference, I guess, drugs and alcohol. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think when it comes to relapse, I don't know, it just seems like there's a lot of shame around the relapse, right? So like the last time we talked about New Year's resolutions, we kind of talked about, you brought up the statistic of like 8% of people actually resolute, right?
Yeah.
And I love how beautiful you said resolute too, by the way.
Thank you.
But yeah, and like we talked about, like, well, if you do fail, like fucking have some pride in the fact that you tried it. And I think that message is supposed to sort of hopefully help you combat the shame around failing, especially when it comes to drugs and alcohol.
Well, but even based on the statistic we talked about on the resolutions and people like falling back into that or failing on their resolutions, like I'd mentioned a lot of times, if you go to a treatment program, if you sit in a group therapy room, there's a statistic out there, and I think it was more heavily based on opiates, but drugs, alcohol, whatever, it's all the same to me. For anybody that's seeking like help to get sober, because it's addict, alcoholic, like I said, I don't see a lot of difference, but
unless it's weed, right?
Unless it's weed, right? But if you're sitting in that room and you hear like the 1 out of 10 people will stay like sober for 1 year, be abstinent from alcohol and drugs, that's a scary number. As I said, like you start thinking, oh shit, like there's only one Katniss in this room, right? Yeah. Only one J-Law. Like you start thinking it's the Hunger Games, and only one person's gonna make it out there alive in some ways, and that could be a self-defeating like prophecy for somebody that's coming in the room, and they're like, I want this to be a one and done, like the newcomer to the room of just like, oh my gosh, relapse, we've talked about as a part of recovery. So you already start that self-doubt, like, or maybe I have to relapse to gain success to be truly like sober.
Do you think that happens in the room actually with people? Because I feel like maybe newcomers, like when they're in a room, I feel like a lot of them are, I worry more about them being too hopeful that they're going to get it right this time, because when you
say that statement again.
So do you think that actually happens in the room where people start to like wonder like, oh man, it's just going to be one of us here that's going to make it, and they get pessimistic? Because I feel like I had the experience of seeing people get too hopeful. Like it's like, oh, like this time it's going to happen. This time I'm going to get it right. They start like almost getting overconfident about it.
I think that when you're talking to somebody that's in a treatment program, I think that they don't see the realities of it. I think sometimes they get stuck on like the pink cloud, people that are newer.
Yeah.
Pink cloud is like basically your head's up in the clouds and everything's great. Like, I've got no cravings, I got no triggers. Yeah. I think they do start kind of feeling like, listen, willpower is good enough and I'm going to make it because based on that. I think people's heads are in the cloud a lot of times when you do treatment. And I have to say, based on my experience, I feel like relapse tend to benefit people. So they start to go, oh, crap, that doesn't work for me. That isn't best for me. Did we talk about, like, near beer recently on here?
No. You
know what near beer is?
No.
So near beer is non-alcoholic beer.
Okay.
I wanted to bring this up. I think this is good for this relapse concept. Is that I was listening to another podcast recently. It's called.
Don't be promoting other podcasts.
This one's like got famous people on it.
Come on, dude.
It's got famous people on it.
Right.
Armchair Expert. You know who Dax Shepard is?
Mm-mm.
Dax Shepard. He's an actor. He's married to Kristen Bell from like Saving. Yeah, we've talked about Dax a little bit. He had like 16 years sober. He relapsed. Went on his podcast, Armchair Expert, and talked about his relapse. But he's sober right now. He had Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day on his podcast recently. He's sober as well. I listened to most of the podcast. But as they start the podcast, they're sitting there, and all of a sudden, they're doing small talk, kind of like what we do, a little banter. Like they haven't sat down yet to start the episode. I don't watch it. I was listening to it. And Billy Joe Armstrong goes, hey, he's like, I see your collection of non-alcoholic beers. And I was like, wait a second. Like Dax is in sobriety. Billy Joe Armstrong, I think is somewhat in sobriety. I don't know. Yeah. But Dax talks openly about working a program. So I'm already in my mind going, wait a second. This guy has a collection of non-alcoholic beers, these near beers. There's a lot of stuff out now, like Heineken 0.0. I heard there's a Guinness that doesn't have any alcohol in it, but that tastes like a Guinness. You've had a Guinness before, right? Yeah. So it's a real filling up. Like, and there's a lot of like mocktails that are out, very popular. Like there's fake tequilas, fake like spirits, right? So, and I was just taken back because I was like, is that safe? I mean, maybe because I just brought this up, like, isn't that like kind of risky behavior for relapse? People trying to pretend something is when it isn't. Like,
I don't know. Why does he drink it?
I don't know. He didn't really go into the topic. I wish I could have that conversation with him. But I want to bring this up too, is that, so after I heard that podcast, I had a client recently come in and he talked about like that. He's like, hey, I started drinking the non-alcoholic beers. And he talked about like, I was around family during the holidays. I started to feel uncomfortable with things. Kind of wanted to fit in. I was like, I can't drink the real shit, because if I drink the real shit, I'm going to end up in a detox, right? Because I'm an alcoholic. So I started drinking the near beers. Within 2 weeks, non-alcoholic beers didn't work for him anymore, because he's drinking those things. And he's like, I'm not looking for taste. Now, I don't know with Dax. I don't know with Billy Joe. Maybe they like the taste of beer, right? So,
I think, the motivation behind why you're drinking it, that tells us if it's a relapse or not. I mean, I don't know.
Do you have an opinion on that?
I have an opinion on the way we're talking about this. Like,
Let's
I feel
go ahead.
like
spit it.
I just feel like recovery recovery looks different for everybody, right? And so, I think we're talking about this from a very lens of like all or nothing. Like you're in recovery, you're an addict, so you stay away from everything.
Yeah.
And I don't think that is a blanket thing that we should do for everybody. So
I think that I probably, now that you said that, and I think my initial instincts again were like, oh guys, you're promoting something, and I'm just kind of like. And they obviously put it on air. I don't know. I wish I could have a conversation with Dax Shepard and be like, do you know, like, if somebody heard that, a regular, or maybe a person that is like a heavy alcoholic and they can't do that, like what you could be promoting. I don't know. Like I said, I'd love to have that conversation with them. But like, a lot of times when I see certain relapse behaviors, it's like people start going to bars. Yeah. They drink like mocktails and they're trying to They're trying
fit
to
in.
conform into something that they can't be anymore, and that's a normalcy of being a normal drinker.
I want to know, like, what is your plan? Like, what is, like, in you specifically, Bob Joe, like, what is your plan for recovery? Like,
Bob Joe.
yeah, like, you know, because if your plan is like, you know what, like, I don't want to ever drink again. Like, okay, awesome. So why are you hanging out with people who drink? You know, like, why are you hanging out with people who go to the bars? Like, I think we got to change your complete lifestyle then, possibly, right? And are you willing to give that up? And if not, then let's adjust your plan a little bit. Just because I was listening to this. There's this, you know, I like to listen to billionaires all the time. There's this billionaire.
He loves rich people.
Grant Cardone. Someone was criticizing him for drinking because he drinks a cocktail, but he claims he's in recovery. He claims that he went to treatment to recover from drugs, which was what was putting him down a spiral he didn't want to go down. And he said he actually didn't drink alcohol or use drugs for the longest time. And then eventually, after years and years, he finally had a couple drinks. And so he's like, yeah, so I'll have a couple drinks here and there. He's like, but he's like, he thinks his recovery is under control because he's like, I didn't ever have a problem with alcohol. Yeah. And I don't have issues. My behavior isn't weird. It's not like erratic. I'm not doing things that are against my values. So I guess to me, I align more with the idea that like everyone's recovery is different. And yeah, I mean, some people, maybe it is acceptable for you. At the end of the day, your plan, you got to be good with your plan, right? Like, it doesn't matter what other people think. Like, if you're proud of the person that you're becoming, then, and if that means that you drink near beer, then okay, like, fuck yeah, like, let's go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's different takes on it for sure. And I know recovery looks different for some people. And some people, I think, will just buy in, and this is not a bad thing, but people will just buy into recovery because they need a change in lifestyle, period, right? And I think AA and a lot of those programs, it is kind of like just setting a new way to live your life. And so I think that's okay. It's kind of like if somebody was like, I'm finding myself falling into like faith and spirituality, and like I like this religion, and I want to be into God. I'm like, cool. I'm like, yeah, it's helping you better your life. Then great. So like there doesn't have to be like there are tests to see if you're an alcoholic or addict, but like if you fail it or you're past it, if you just feel like you are one and you just want to buy into a new lifestyle, I think it's great. So
I have a question for you. How are we doing on time?
We got like another like 10 minutes.
You asked me a question when we had to record the first run of this.
Yeah.
And so I'll ask you the question, like, what do you think are the steps to, like, if you do relapse in recovery, like, how do you get back?
Well, if you get an opportunity to get back, right? So, and some relapses are more severe than others, but how do you get back? You can't get it back. Well, you can in some ways, and you can't. So, like, how do you, like, take back your life? How do you recover
from it? Yeah.
How do you recover? So, be honest. That's the one thing I think relapse, unfortunately, as you mentioned, like, think before, is like the shame builds and the guilt, the disappointment. I've let people down. I entered a treatment program. I made this commitment. I've put my loved ones through this already. I told them I'm not going to. You don't ever want to say there's always potential for relapse, right? But like people start thinking like you've made this commitment, right? Just don't break that commitment again. Like, so I think it is being honest and genuine about what has happened, speaking your truth, and not running away from it. Like, we all make mistakes, so I think one of the things that relapse will lead to is just more shame and more guilt. So and just accept that this is a part of the process.
What if honesty leads you to the path of like, I don't want to get sober right now?
Then that's where you're at in your life. Yeah. You know, like if you relapse, you mean just
think there's a value to like just writing that out?
I think this goes back to the idea also we talked about with the quiet quitting thing is like if somebody comes in and they're just not really ready, I appreciate that. I'm probably going to go back and I'm probably going to smoke weed or I'm going to drink. Like, they're just not ready to make that commitment yet. Okay. You know, and even if they're like, I've had clients just say, Jesse, I'm going to go use drugs. Like, there's, this is my call. It is your call. It is your life. It is your choice. Yeah. Your life most definitely will significantly impact other people because sometimes we don't look at that whole picture there. But
why do you think someone's in treatment
What do I think somebody's in treatment?
Like, why do you think like a person who says this, like, has this belief of like I'm gonna use again?
Yeah.
Like, it's just matter of fact that they believe that this is who I am. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna use. Why do you think they're in treatment?
Unless it depends if they might have like
what's the point? You know what I mean?
Well, they might have a consequence that they're facing.
Okay.
Right. So like they have to like maybe a court date. Yeah. I guess. I think probably like DUIs or like whatever court cases. So
okay.
People just sometimes enter treatment to pressure, or maybe they don't got nowhere to go at that point in time. 3 hots in a cot. That's what they call it. That's prison and jail, right? Though, but like sometimes people go to treatment because it's just like, all right, this is maybe I've hit a bottom and this is the only place to go right now, and I got a place to stay. I'll be fed. Yeah. People that kind of care about me take care of me in some way. Yeah. So I think sometimes, the road is nowhere. So they're like, let's take a detour and stay here for a while. So. Yeah. People's motivations can change. You can enter a program being forced in by like an intervention and go, oh, you know what? I'm starting to kind of buy what they're selling a little bit here. So,
do you remember there was a group you used to run back in our first place we worked at, or second place? It was the TED Talk that talked about what is it? The opposite of addiction
Johan
is
Hari.
Connection. Yeah, right.
Johan Hari. Yeah. So.
And it's interesting because in talking about the shame aspect of relapse, I heard that in Spain, and I don't remember where this place was, but anyway, I heard in Spain they're like
they decriminalize.
They decriminalize alcohol. It's very natural, like for a kid to go and buy some alcohol. It's just like it's accepted, right? And it's very like open, right? And so there's this aspect in our society of like restricting you from drinking till you're 21, putting limits on, or even just there's this shame around drinking sometimes of like, oh man, they're drinking too much, or they're drinking and driving, or they're drunk, they're not thinking right. So just the way that our culture paints alcohol, do you think that I don't know, do you think that there is something to that, like that in recovery there is this culture of like don't drink after you leave treatment, or like relapses, you don't commit to not drinking again? Do you think that this sort of like hard nosed sort of like just don't do drugs or alcohol, you can't do anything, can possibly lead people to relapse because it's so like,
I mean, of course. I mean, there's a hard line that says like this doesn't work for you anymore, so you need to do all this stuff. And the thing that's difficult for a lot of people is like letting go of control, of like letting other people kind of call the shots for them, because they're functioning alcoholic or addict, but like they really aren't functioning. People think they're so high functioning sometimes, but that was like you have this consequence and that consequence. But yeah, of course, that hard directive of like you've got to follow our guidance. Yeah, it rubs people the wrong way because we want to make our own choices. Yeah. We're adults. Yeah. It's like the idea of like I'm a 50-year-old man. Like I know like what to do. It's like you do, but then you think you do. But you're also making all these poor decisions. Yeah, of course you're going to get like resistance. Yeah. That's what addicts and alcoholics are. They're just like they go against the grain. They push back. So, but I don't know. But is that the driving factor for a relapse? I mean, it could be.
Like if there was a treatment center out there that was like, hey, like it's okay if you want to.
But that's throwing, but I think
there's less pressure. I don't know.
Here's the thing.
I think it's a scary thought to think about. But
I think for too many people, that's too much of a slippery slope. There are your people out there that, like you'd mentioned, that guy who's a billionaire or a millionaire. Yeah, you wouldn't listen to him if he was a millionaire, right?
No, he's not worthy.
He's a billionaire, so that's why you listen to him. But no, the guy, like, okay, so this guy, he's working his recovery that way. Fine, okay. Whatever, more power to him in his life. But
he actually wrote off the trees. Like they didn't know what they were talking about. Yeah. They told me I was an addict. I was always going to think this way. That my obsession with becoming a billionaire would lead me to.
But you don't want to. See, that's unfortunate. I mean, I probably should listen to this now because he's writing off like something that has helped like thousands of people, or at least steer people in the right direction. Because there are a lot of people that, and I see it all the time with relapses, is people keep going back to something they think it is, but it isn't. So, I mean, we're actually running out of time. I don't know if we even really talked about relapse. We did a little bit. We talked about relapse, but we went.
Is there something you wanted to touch on?
No, I guess the only thing I wanted to say was just like when people do relapse, what are some of the signs to look for more than anything, right? That whole part, right?
Part 2.
Part 2. What I wanted to say was some of the signs that you should look for when it comes to relapse are just people falling back into old patterns, I guess. People maybe initially like had a plan, maybe a structure, and they start to break away from that structure, because I think a big part about sobriety or following patterns to success is people create a structure, right? A pattern, a game plan. So since we're kind of more focused on recovery, like if somebody stops going to meetings or stops doing what made them successful in the first place, they fall off that template. That's a sure sign, I think, to look for. Yep. I think mood changes as well. Maybe reflections on old behaviors. People aren't communicating as much.
Yeah.
Maybe acting out. Just I think anything that patterns something from their past, and that's why people get a little nervous, and the person that is like maybe the addict or alcoholic that's near relapse gets so defensive because they don't know why that spouse or that family member is acting that way. Like, don't they know that I'm still sober, but I'm just struggling? But I hope the balance with that is that, like, the person that is like trying to recover and is not trying to relapse, the family they're going to look for those patterns because they're scared and they're worried. So so I think that's kind of the biggest part. But we could probably do a whole another episode on this, and we probably will. So
we got a lot more to talk about.
Until next time.